And here we go, Blueies and Shoeies. Hopefully, the second version that goes out to the masses.
The home edition.
The home edition, yeah. The two sick podcasters edition.
Yeah, from the broom cupboard.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, hope you're feeling all right, mate. And before we get going to our fans out there, it's the very important note that it's GMAC's 40th this week. So a big happy birthday to the big guy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, turned 40 and then got the flu. So just coming back from that now, but I'll make up for it tomorrow when I go to the pub.
That's the way to shake off a flu, mate.
Nothing shakes it off like
Doctors prescribe.
Go to a podcast and then a piss up. So let's do the podcast, then we can do the piss up.
Lovely, mate.
Yeah.
Well, should we head straight into the NBA?
I think so. Obviously, NBA finals, and thank God. Even though I wouldn't have minded the Celtics going out in a sweep, but thank God they actually won one, so we've got more basketball this week. After the Lakers getting swept, I thought the Heat were going to do it as well, and I thought this could just be probably a disaster for the NBA because you end up with like 2 weeks without any basketball. But the Celtics are now in that weird position where if they win the next game, the pressure builds right on Heat, and then the Celtics are favourite every game because they're a better team. But when you're 3-0 down, it looks like you're probably going to lose. But winning the first is all you can do. Now, the big ones tomorrow, if they win that, the pressure will be huge on the Heat, and you'll watch them start missing a lot more shots. But I don't know if I would be willing to tip the Heat tomorrow, but I think there's still more pressure on Celtics tomorrow than the Heat. If the Celtics win that, it flips completely, and all the pressure's on the Heat all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think earlier in the playoffs, I think their record at home, the Celtics anyway, was 500. So I think for the first two losses against the Heat, it's probably even worse than 500 at the moment, which, for that team with the home crowd that they've got, which that voted the best crowd by the players, just because obviously it's pretty boisterous, half Irish, half whatever you want to say.
Half Irish, full Irish.
Yeah, full Irish guys going berserk. But yeah, in terms of the clean sweep, I mean, mate, after game 3?
They got flogged in game 3, which was
boarding on
first home game.
Yeah, bordering on suicide at that point. However, shown a little bit of character, especially considering game 4, 8 points down, something like that, going into the second half, and then
they fought back well. They didn't look in at the first half, and then they dominated the second half. And
they went on an 18-0 run, which is pretty. Spolstra would generally get those boys in. They went on a 9-0 run. Spolstra got them in, and then they went on another 9-0 run to rack up, I think, and then it was a sort of 20-2 run, basically. So once they got ahead, Miami obviously reduced the lead, but Tatum, for the first time this series, in a fourth quarter, actually scored a field goal. Field goal. He scored points through fouls and getting to the line.
Yeah. He's actually, to be fair, he's been more of a team player in the fourth, but I think they need him to be more of a killer in the fourth. Getting more points, but that was actually the Heat's first defeat at home in the playoffs, so they were undefeated in the playoffs too, so at home, so that was a big win for the Celtics, and it keeps it going because obviously the Nuggets swept the Lakers, and to me that was a shock because I think the Lakers were leading in 3 of those games. The first game they were getting flogged and came right back, but game 2, 3 and 4 the Lakers had the game and chucked them away. I think you can blame LeBron and asking for the ball and then not delivering, you know what I mean?
Well, he delivered in the final game, but I think
he scored points in the final game, but he missed an easy slam dunk where he dropped the ball.
That was a previous
game 3.
Yeah, that was a previous game where he was probably more at fault. He went all out in the last game. And
in game 4, he asks for the ball and then drives and doesn't even get the shot off. You know what I mean? It's like with the last second. It's tough. You should be having a
I would have thought he would have pulled up a little bit earlier.
Or give it to someone for an open 3 and win the game. You know what I mean? Take the chance to win it. You're 3-0 down, right? But the way that ended was just basically summed up their whole.
It's disappointing, but I mean, if you look at the series against Sacramento, D'Angelo Russell had two decent games. Reeves had bigger and better games. Anthony Davis was huge. Jokic just absolutely dismantled
against.
Sorry, Golden State. Yeah, Golden State. Sorry, I'm getting my teams mixed up. Golden State. Yeah, I mean Anthony Davis was huge during that series.
Yeah,
D'Angelo Russell countered, a Klay Thompson's points basically, and allowed LeBron to chip in and have a big quarter when needed.
Yeah,
but D'Angelo Russell going into that game was minus 53 points when he was on the floor. I mean,
he was.
For a guy that's supposed to come in and deliver and score.
He was a bit of a killer for them, and like I said, LeBron missed far too many threes. You shouldn't be taking them if you're going to miss that many. And that's a bit similar to Jaylen Brown at Celtics at the moment. He's having a shocker with the three.
He had a decent game last game. Him and Brogdon have been the hands gone cold, should we say. Derek White, who had previously started off great against the Hawks, they went cold against the 76ers, looks a bit better. Horford looks like his touch is coming back a little bit. But I mean, I think I spoke to you in game 4. Look, don't get me wrong, it's a combination of defense, but also guys that are probably shooting out of their skin. It was Vincent, Robinson, known three-pointers, Martin, decent three-point shot, but Kevin Love, all of them combined 8 of 10 three-pointers. I mean, that's just 80% from three-point land, I think, going into Q4 that game.
You're going to struggle to keep up with them if that's the case. But they were rotten from 3 in game 4 and they lost. Yeah. And Celtics were good and they won. So that'll probably be the main decider tomorrow, is who shoots the three the best. But the heat will never go away. That's the thing. They're not going to stop. They could be 10 points
every
down,
second ball. They seem to literally get every
going.
second ball. As you expect from teams that are hustling when they know to a man they're not as talented. Any sport, what you demand is absolute commitment, I guess, from that side.
Well, I actually watched a documentary the other day on Netflix, which was the Redeem Team, the 2008 USA basketball team. After they lost in 2004 when they had Wade and LeBron and Carmelo and stuff, and they came back in 2008 and won it. They added Kobe in, and they said just having that absolute winner in the team and playing for the team rather than playing for themselves. They were just a bunch of individuals, but then Kobe kind of brought them all together and they played more as a team and hustled more. And I think that's the thing when you've got Butler in your team. You're going to hustle, you're going to try, because if you don't, he's going to shout at you. You know what I mean? It's like having Roy Keane in your Man United team. You don't want to let that person down for fear or from respect.
But when you think about that organisation, mate, they've got, I think, 7 as a roster, 7 undrafted players, 4 of which are in rotation, that are getting on the floor each night. 4 undrafted players. I mean, it's certainly more common in the NFL, given your rosters of 50 odd people. Yeah. So it's more common that a guy wouldn't make a draft and then gets picked up through the lower leagues, as it were. But certainly more uncommon in the NBA. So to have 4 players and they're all delivering in the playoffs. It's just a reflection on the culture. And you got Spoelstra, who's in my eyes the best coach in the league. And then you have Pat Riley, the old dog, the old NBA head who's been knocking around for years, that just knows the ins and outs of basketball, NBA, and the like. So you compare that to, and this is probably, I think I was probably just getting more critical on Joe Mazzulla after the first couple of losses, and probably rightfully so, but thinking about it actually on reflection, when Ime Udoka obviously had the naughty boy scandal at the start of the season, they actually suspended him. They didn't sack him, which meant they could only hire from within. Probably the next best option, or the next most qualified guy, a guy called Will Hardy, picks up the head coaching role at the Jazz. All right, so then Mazzulla's given the role because Brad Stevens sees him as a bit of a prodigy. Brad Stevens came from a much smaller college called Butler. Was picked up as the next big thing by Danny Ainge, and he did really well as a coach. Again, probably just fell short in the end, but with a team that was, again, younger, more inexperienced than what it is today. And so you've got a guy that's literally 34 years old, was coaching high school previously, who is not on the front court as a key assistant, but was actually sitting in the bench behind, which just shows you where you are in the pecking order, to then take over in the midst of an HR debacle, does really well. Again, regular season can be a bit misleading in terms of where you sit.
I think it's totally misleading. I think all 16 teams can beat each other when it gets to the playoffs.
Yeah, you give him you reward him with the permanent position. Since then, we went from first to second. Not a big deal, but we then lose another key coach to Georgia, the university. You think about that IP knowledge from the season before where the Celtics got so close to 3 key coaches moving on and a guy who's 34 years old. Mate, I was thinking about that's like me and you coaching a local team in Sydney or in the UK, a local pub side or a non-league Wrexham. It's like me and you coaching Wrexham, and then Spurs call, obviously, because everyone else has said no. And we get a coaching job at Spurs to head up a huge Premier League team. I mean, I didn't want to say Man U and given I'm a Celtics fan and make that comparison, but they are one of the biggest brands in basketball. So to give him that job,
I think the poor guy's been chucked in at the deep end, and I think that he's going to get the blame if they get through. It's an amazing comeback from 3-0 down, but I'm assuming they're still going to go out, just given that they've got to win 3 more games.
My thoughts are they'll make it they should get through tomorrow just because the crowd will be going berserk and really pulling them through. But then the Heat will
probably... The crowd can also have a negative effect. If they don't start fast and the Garden goes quiet, that can fuel the Heat.
Yeah, I don't know if they will go quiet. I think there'll be abuse, but it'll get pretty rapturous no matter what in the second half. So they'll be within points, whether, again, like they're down, as they were game 4, down 5 or 8. The crowd will be there to lift them, or if they're leading, they're going to be really trying to cheer them home. So I see the Celtics winning tomorrow, and then the Heat just finally getting over the line. But the interesting thing is I heard they were setting up all the Eastern Conference Final awards, getting the stage. They were doing like a stage prep prior to Game 4. It's probably just something they've got to do.
You're supposed to.
In
case it's an end of series.
Yeah, but it reminds me of Joel Embiid getting the MVP before playing the Celtics in Game 3. You've got to win the game. You're getting all this adulation before the game, and the Celtics are there going, all right, mate, we're going to turn it on, as they've probably done in this game. I just think I wouldn't want that award before I'm about to run on the floor. I mean, he's got his family there. They're playing the video. It's emotional, man. To start off hot in the right frame of mind, I think it would be quite difficult. You know what I mean? And so for you to almost, if you're seeing the team that's about to pick up the award and everyone's setting up the stage while you're practicing, you're going, for fuck's sake, we're going to have to come tonight and make sure that at least, they're going to have to wait for it, basically.
Definitely. The old thing when you buy the T-shirts or the hats and stuff, and then it's motivation. It's motivation to make sure they go in the bin. Get them in the bin. That was the Charles Barkley thing when they said they were driving, they're playing the Bulls, and they were driving Bulls in 5, and it was that, and they go, take down your goddamn posters and all that stuff, because the Suns won. Suns won and get to Game 6.
Just circling back, mate. I mean, so I've given you my prediction. It was Celtics in 6 prior to the series, thinking purely. I did expect them to do it in 4, but that was on the basis that they've got momentum coming off the 76ers series, fighting back to then go full steam. What do? Slump back, doing the same mistakes, people not stepping up. Poor timeouts not called and the like. So I think they'll win tomorrow, but they'll ultimately fade in 6. It would be brilliant if it went to Game 7.
If it goes to Game 7, that will be amazing, right? Even if you lose, you still like to take it all the way. If it goes to Game 6 or 7, then it just plays into the Nuggets' hands. I think the Nuggets are much more of a team than the Celtics. Not necessarily better players pound for pound or player for player, but as a team, they just seem to be really, really good defence and offence. They cruise to 110 and make 120, 130 most games, which the Celtics aren't guaranteed to do that, and they're really good at defending key players. So, and if you're going to give them a week or 9 days extra rest, then you're just asking for trouble.
Especially when they've asked Jokic to really power through and almost play close to every minute. I mean, he was playing out of 42, 44.
He's going to get a right good rest. So's Murray.
Oh, mate, but let's talk about old Joker, mate. I mean, the guy, I know
he just broke the record for the most triple doubles in a playoff series. He's got the most triple doubles, and he's still got at least 4 games to play, possibly 7 games to play.
Yeah,
right. And he's already.
The thing is, there's no stat padding like there was with Westbrook. You know, he just does the right thing at the right time. Someone's better in a better position. United fans, Fergie always used to say about Cantona. Yeah, he would always play the pass if that was the better decision rather than shoot for goal. Mate,
but when you see him shooting that, someone said when you see him shooting, it looks like he's wearing flip flops, right? He just looks so uncoordinated,
but it's so unorthodox,
unorthodox, uncoordinated.
But
it keeps going in
the back of his head, and so because he gets it there, and you see the trajectory. You look at a Jimmy Butler, he shoots it really flat. I don't like it. I find most shooters that shoot it really flat aren't as good. Butler's an exception. Yeah, you see.
But Butler's not got a great 3-pointer. No. He's better close because he's so kind of hard and flat.
Yeah, but you look at that dainty shot. It's you know what it reminds me of is you probably don't see it so much unless you've got a sort of an eye for it or you watch a lot of the NFL. It reminds me of like Aaron Rodgers. You know, when I first got to see videos of actually how soft his ball sort of just drops in the air. You get to learn why they say he throws the most beautiful pass. You know, the ball gets to the same position that a Brady or someone else would throw, but the absolute, the spin and how he sort of releases the ball, it sort of just looks so beautiful the way it lands so softly. You know, it just shoots in the air and almost drops. The way he sort of shoots and it hits the rim and it often bounces in and around and then still goes in because he's got this sort of high, dainty sort of lob. Mate, he's just an exception to. He's so unorthodox. You're 7'1", and you're shooting it behind your head.
He looks like he's wearing flip flops. It looks like he's on the beach just arsing around. But they all seem to go in.
Sorry to interrupt. I saw the some highlights of him in his first year because obviously they're doing a lot now on picked number 41 in the draft. Which they tend to do on the ESPNs and the like. But seeing some of his highlights in his first year reminds me of old White Chocolate. Mate, but he's just bigger and obviously not as sort of rapid off the mark. But you just see for a big guy, and he's doing the old going up and then just giving the soft pass. It's mainly the passes, mate. He's just an absolute freak. What an eye for it.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant. I think Embiid, like I said, there was definitely an anti-Jokic getting MVP this year because they didn't want him to get it 3 years in a row because the likes of Jordan and LeBron haven't even done that. But I think he's proven, and maybe it's even been more motivation for him not getting it, that he's going to get the MVP in the finals and win the
But that's
what
finals. I like about him. He's not bothered. And that's the kind of guy you want, mate. And when you think to compliment him, the Nuggets, I thought it might turn out to be one of the worst contracts they could ever sign, where they signed up, I think for 180 odd million, they signed up Michael Porter Jr., who was the number 1 high school kid, but then injury prone. He's come back and actually is playing a lot more consistently, and good to see a guy with so much potential playing better.
He looks good. Caldwell Pope looks good.
He's just a nice complimentary piece. So is Brown. But my main man, I'm so happy for him because honestly, I loved the duel with Jamal Murray and Spider, Donovan Mitchell in the bubble, where they were both going almost 50 apiece each night, attacking each other. It was just, for a spectacle that had no fans, it was as good a basketball and sort of almost atmosphere as you could ever expect from what those two delivered. But for him to then go off the grid for about 18 months, to the best part of 18 months to 2 years, being injured. No one really talks about the Nuggets, just because I think where they're based, they're not a big franchise.
Yeah,
so it's great.
This is the first time in the finals.
Yeah, it's great.
So in the history, so they're one of those ones you are rooting for. Obviously, you're a Celtics fan, so if the Celtics make it,
don't want the Celtics to get to the final because I can't see them beating the Nuggets. Even though if they play to their potential, they can. They've just shown they're not consistent.
Yeah,
they've just shown they're not
anyone's
consistent.
got is the Nuggets were the number 1 team overall once the Bucks went out, right? So the Nuggets get the 4 games at home.
Yeah,
it's altitude. They're undefeated at home and in the playoffs. They look really, really good away as well, but they look ridiculously good at home. The Celtics have to beat them at least once at home and win 3 times in Boston, and they've got a terrible record at home. So it's everything's against them.
It is. The only caveat I would say to that is actually their away form's probably been better than the home form, which is the small piece. And I do think they
haven't played the Nuggets away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I would give them a better chance, or I think it would be a better series. At least Mars, I can see the Nuggets beating the Heat in 5. Now they could do that with the Celtics. I just think the Celtics would just give them better games, like we've seen with the Lakers actually giving the Nuggets better games than what the Celtics did.
I think whoever the Nuggets play, they'll sweep. I think they're going to sweep in 4. I think it's what they want.
Is there a shoey on that? Nuggets sweep.
Nuggets to sweep. I think they'll win 4-0 against either the Celtics or Heat.
Yeah, mate. They're such an easy team to root for, man. Like, honestly, I've always. I don't know if you heard the story when he did his ACL, and he's on the sort of bus on the way back, or on the flight back. He actually asked the coach Malone, the Nuggets coach Jamal Murray. He asked him, "Are you going to trade me?" Because he basically was like, it's a business. I'm not going to be any use for a good period of time here. So, look, high risk to a degree in terms of the Murray commitment and Porter Jr. commitment in terms of the money, wading through, because obviously you get these sort of periods to really win. But it's great that they're actually, their commitment to their players is actually coming to fruition. They haven't got the job done, but it's good to see.
I think they will get it done though. Okay, are we done with basketball then? Do you want to move on to the next topic?
Yep.